Okay, well, let's get to our subject today, how to have a CEO mindset in the healthcare industry. Now, like I said, we've been doing this now for 23 years, licensing, teaching, training other people how to do it, but we've actually started way before that. My wife, Linda, started doing medical billing in 1987. So if you do the math on that, I think it's something like 30 years. Anyway, we've been around a long time in this industry, and then started teaching other people how to do that, like I said, in 1994, and it just grew from there. So the reason I showed you this quote earlier from Elon Musk is because you have to have the right questions. Some people don't ever think of the questions that they should be asking us, about this industry. So I'm going to cover some of those questions today. And again, the printout, the handout for this entire slideshow is in the handouts section over there in your control panel there, if you look for that somewhere on your screen. You can type those questions in anytime during the workshop. The webinar today. I'm going to be answering those live. And okay, I see Oki here is from Michigan. Dan says, I can see you. We can see you. Oh, good. That's when I turn on my monitor webcam there. There's Tamira in Sarasota, Florida. We got John in Philadelphia. And I think I named most of the other people that I see on there. Okay, I'm going to delete all of those statements where you're from, and then I'm starting fresh here. I have a clean screen. When I see your questions typed in, I'll be addressing them. Meanwhile, let's jump right into one of our questions that we get a lot, and that you should be asking, by the way. Look, folks, it's the wild, wild west out there on the internet, right? There are all kinds of, I get business opportunity emails, daily about new things and new ways to start a business and so forth, franchises and so forth. And folks, you really got to stop and be very serious about this question, because there are scams out there on the internet. There are companies that will just take your money and run away and disappear. That's why we encourage you to check with the Better Business Bureau in Fort Worth, and they'll tell you that we've been around for 29 years, I think is what they list. So the point is, folks, that there are companies that are real. There are some that are scams out there. You have to just be very careful about that. Now, I'm going to do something I've never done before. But I'm going to go actually to the Better Business Bureau website. Now, I'm going to pause this just for a second here while I get my browser up. And with the browser, I'll be able to kind of discuss a little bit about what that website shows there when you go to it. And I'll give you an exact link here in just a moment as to what that is. In fact, I'm going to copy that right now, and I'll just put that in the I'll put that in the chat window now. This is not the question window, the chat window. I just put the link in that will take you to this page right here. Let's see if I can get it up there. I think I got to get this right here. Okay. Now, if you need to blow this up so you can see this on your screen, there should be some control somewhere on your window there that you're watching in GoToWebinar to make this go full screen. But basically, at the Better Business Bureau site, when you type in what you see up here, and I just put that in the chat window, by the way, the link, it's bbb.org/central-texas. Well, that'll take you to a site, but it's Austin is the default name there, so I'm just going to replace that with Fort Worth, and there it is right there, Fort Worth, Texas. Okay, can everybody see that? All right, now over here on the left, I'm going to put in our company name, American Business Systems. Did I spell all that right? I think so, yeah. And as you can see, when I press enter, there it is. In fact, I think it popped up when I was typing it a while ago, but there it is. We happen to be the very first one. There are other companies that have American Business in their name, as you can see. But just click on the highlighted name there, and you'll see our rating. There it is, A+. Now, let me address something here, because as you can see, it says right here that we have no complaints filed. No complaints filed, folks, in 29 years. Let that sink in just for a moment. And this is one of the few sites, by the way, that you can really trust, because the BBB is serious about checking on businesses, and if they get a bunch of complaints and the company doesn't handle those complaints, they will, of course, rate them down to F, all the way down to F. We have an A+, but notice what it says right above this. This business is not BBB accredited. So let me encourage you to go right here where it says BBB accreditation. Now let me just circle that here with a pin so everybody can see that right here. Everybody see that? BBB accreditation. Now let me tell you why that's important that you learn a little bit about that, because it doesn't mean what you might think that it means. It indicates that maybe we haven't been checked out or accredited or something like that. But if you read what it actually says on the site, let me see if I can blow that wording up there a little bit there. Did that go too big? Oh, there we go. All right, so what it says is this business is not BBB accredited. Now, businesses are under no obligation to seek BBB accreditation, and some businesses are not accredited because they've not sought the BBB accreditation. Now, folks, that's where we fall. As a company, we have just decided that we do not want to seek any special standing with the Better Business Bureau. We want them to rate us based on how we do business. And what it really means, the accreditation, is that you have to apply and pay an annual fee to the Better Business Bureau. It says it right there in the next paragraph. We've just elected not to do that. When you've got an A+ rating, you don't have to do that. So I hope that helps some of you there in the explanation of what was going on there with the Better Business Bureau. Now, let me see if I can get back to our slide. Yeah, I think that's it right there. And let's talk about the next question. How can you stay in business offering a money-back guarantee? Well, let's read the guarantee carefully and see what it says. And when I came up with this, by the way, a few years ago, my staff thought I was nuts, said you can't stay in business given a money-back guarantee. I said, well, look, we're going to let them see every proprietary thing that we teach. All of our trade secrets, all of our information about the medical billing business, we're going to give in that live training workshop. If somebody at the end of that week decides that this is not the business for them for any reason, I mean, you literally could say, I don't like the color of the sky in Texas. That'd be a good reason to get your money back. And folks, that's happened only a handful of times, literally, in the years we've been in business. It does happen that certain circumstances come up for people and they ask for the money back. So it is a real guarantee. It's in the agreement that you'll be signing. If you haven't got a copy of that, ask the person who emailed you about this webinar and they'll send that to you. But notice what it says. If at the end of the training workshop, for any reason, you do not think this business is right for you, that's your decision, right? And yours only. Simply tell any staff member and they'll arrange for you to receive a full refund of your license fee. That usually happens within the next 10 business days or something like that. But anyway, the point is, folks, if we were giving this kind of guarantee and we didn't fulfill and didn't have what we say we have, you'll know that. Midway through the week, you'll know whether this is real or not. And that's the best way for you to be assured that it's good and it's real. Okay, let's move on here. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on just a second. Now, I think I see a question here. Let me see if it's pertinent here. Sometimes people will get carried away on their questions, and I don't know why I can't see this one. Let me shrink that window back down here. I got lost. Okay. All right. Let me see what this says here now. This might be up top. I wonder if ABS also works in risk adjustment coding. Ronaldo, that is kind of off topic. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking about there even, so I may just be ignorant about what you're talking about. You might email the person who sent you this invitation to the webinar and let them answer that question specifically to you there. Okay, let's see. We're going to go back to the slides, and here's the next question. How does ABS make money on an ongoing basis? Now, if you haven't been to our website, you may not know, but our licensing fee is like a franchise fee. It's a one-time, lifetime fee of $25,990. Let's just round that up. It's $26,000, okay? And that is an upfront fee, of course, that covers your training and support and so forth. But how do we stay in business? We could stop selling licenses today, and our company would stay in business because of the ancillary services that our licensees offer. Now, here's what I'm talking about. And again, sorry if this is kind of small on your screen here. This is an illustration of all of the different flyers that we've designed for the various ancillary services. Now, the main thing you're going to be doing for doctors, of course, is you're going to be doing their billing. And that'll be through our online cloud-based system called iClaim that you'll see there in that illustration, upper right-hand corner right here. And EMRX, which is right here. This is our electronic medical record system. Some doctors already have that, some don't, so we have an EMR that they can sign up for and use. We make money on all of these services on a monthly ongoing basis, but you don't pay us a penny. We make that money from our technology partners that are helping provide all of the different websites and cloud-based services that are entailed with each one of these services here. So we make a few pennies on each transaction. Our transactional income on the back end of the company helps support the company and allows us to support you, well, as you'll see here in a moment, forever, for as long as you're an ABS licensee. So that's how we make money on an ongoing basis. All right, I'm looking at the question box. Don't see a one of you typing in your own questions here, but maybe you think I'm going to get to that question. So I'm just going to continue on until I see some questions show up here, okay? All right, let's see. Aren't doctors already doing their own billing? Why do they need me? Well, that's a great question. And I have the answer to it right here. Now, I know this is kind of tiny to look at, and so guess what? I'm going to drop that little handout that you see right there on the benefits of outsourced medical billing in the handout section of GoToWebinar. And it looks like it has just about, there we go, it's completed. So you can download that right now and take a look at it. But let me just say this, guys. These reasons that you see here are all based on reasons that are based on what the doctor have really said to us out there in the field. They're not just made up reasons. These are real benefits that other organizations like blackbookrankings.com and medicaleconomics.com, they've all come up with these reasons and said, you know what, if you're a doctor in private practice, you should be outsourcing your billing to someone else. And there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, a good even dozen reasons as to why doctors should be outsourcing to you. See if those make sense to you. Download that right now if you want to your computer. You can open that up and be kind of glancing at it as I move on here. Oh, now I see a question here. Let's see. Okay, this is from Dan. He says, so if I wanted to do this as a one-man show, I could do that? Well, absolutely, Dan. In fact, probably 90, I don't know, maybe 85% of our licensees, I would say, are just somebody who decided they wanted to change their career, change their life, start working for themselves, be in control of their own life, and they started a business working right out of their home. You do not have to grow any bigger than you want to grow. Now, I will say this, and I'll show you here in a moment an illustration of how this works, but by the time you get to a handful of doctors, even 3 sometimes, you're making a pretty good full-time income, and you don't need to hire any more, and you don't need any more clients at that point. And if you have extra clients, guess what? We have the nation's largest network of independent medical billing companies, and we'll show you how to work out a deal with someone else to actually do all the work, and you make money on it as well as they do. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Dan, he says outstanding. That's where I'm at. Yeah. Okay, and here's another question. If a doctor's already outsourcing, Dan says, what would be the incentive for them to give you their business? What would set aside ABS from other billing services out there? That is a great question, Dan. One of the things that I just showed you, actually, you may have typed that in as I was talking about those ancillary services. All of these things here are unique to ABS and our licensees. No other medical billing company out there in your area is going to have these additional services here. There's 6 additional services in addition to a generic flyer here, and well, anyway, there's a lot of services that you can offer to doctors that are way beyond just doing their medical billing. You become a medical revenue manager, and that means you're going to offer things that other people just don't have. So look at that handout that I just dropped in the handout section there on outsourcing, and that may clarify that for you a little bit more as well. Zahi says, would we need to get any sort of coding or billing certification? Or does the software entail everything in terms of rights to do business in medical billing? Yes, Zahi, that's a great question because a lot of people think there's a lot of certification, licensing, training, and so forth that you have to go through to become a medical biller. Now, if you were going to find a job in a doctor's office, you might want to go through some, specialized training at your local college or even online. But Zahi, with our business model, you are starting your own business from scratch. We're going to teach you exactly what you need to do medical billing. And by the end of the week, I showed you the certificate earlier, you're certified. And that's as good a certification as it gets. There are no other certifications required to do medical billing for any doctor in any of the 50 states. So you can literally have clients all over the country. Yeah. All right. Well, these are great questions coming in, guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to address a few more here as we go along. But let me get back to our slides and see where I left off. Was it right here? I think so. Yeah. Okay, so you don't need any background or training, prior experience. And one of the ways that you can see that is by going to our YouTube channel. Yes, you may not have realized that ABS has a YouTube channel. So let me see if this will actually let me go there. And if so, I'm going to share that with you. By changing my screen to that. All right, and I think that's correct now. Yep. Okay, again, you may have to blow your screen up to see what I'm about to show you here. But folks, if you haven't been to this website, and I'll go back to that slide and give you the exact address here in just a moment, but you need to browse around here. There's some really, really good stuff here. Now, let me show you a little secret when you get here. You can go right up here to playlists. See it right here? Playlists, right there. And when you click on that, you'll see that there's all kinds of playlists we've come up with, and one of them is called Interviews. See it right here? Interviews. There's 50 of them, it says, 50 interviews that I've done over the past few years. And you'll just want to click on that, Interviews, and then just browse down through here. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because the question was that we just had on the screen there was, do I need background or training or prior experience in medical billing and coding? And I'm encouraging you to not just take my word for it, but to go actually listen to some of these people when I interviewed them, what they say. And you'll see that all of these people have gone through our training. Most of them had no background in the medical field, certainly not in billing or coding, and yet they've built a very successful business. So anyway, take time and browse through some of those interviews, and I think that question will basically answer itself. Oh boy, I got more questions coming here. This is wonderful. Love it, folks. Keep them coming here. Okay, now some questions are about the fee. This one just happens to be Antonio saying by the time you pay the licensing fee, there may not be a class available. With that being said, can we start looking for doctors right away without going to training? Okay, Antonio, we get that question a lot. And by the way, we try to fill up every class, of course, financially, from a business standpoint, that's what we want to do. But if the class only had a handful of people in it, we'd still hold the class. We have done that for as little as a half a dozen people. But the point is that there will always be a seat available, Antonio, if you want to get into one of these trainings. We do them every 6 to 7 weeks, and so you don't have to worry about that. But going back to your question about getting a doctor ahead of time, wow, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here just for a second, folks, so you can see me right up close and I can look in your eyes when I say this. I am encouraging anybody who is trying to get into this business not to go and speak with a doctor, or at least not one that you know. If you're going to pick a doctor to, practice on, go somewhere, way outside your immediate area, because here's what's going to happen. That doctor is going to ask you just one question that you have no idea how to answer, and you won't have anybody to reach out to. You won't have any prior experience in hearing that question asked. Now, that's one of the advantages of our live training workshops. You get to hear the questions of other people, questions that you will go, wow, I wish I had thought of that question. I'm glad that person asked that question. And you'll see the answers to all that. But if you go out there and try to practice your marketing on a doctor without having any information about this business, that would be foolish. I'm just being honest with you. It would be reckless of you to go out and ruin. Maybe you're thinking about going to your own doctor and talking to him or her about it. And folks, that might be one of your best prospects when you get back, when you have the answers. Don't go in looking like you don't know what you're doing, because their confidence level in you will not be high at all. But having completed a week of training here in Dallas, you can tell them, I've been through, 40 hours of training here, but folks, we have another 80 hours of training on our private website for our licensees. And if you go through that training as well, you've got 100 and whatever that is, 40 and 80. It's a lot. It's a lot of hours of training that you'll get, and much more quality. Believe me, by the end of the week, just our 1 week of training, you'll know more than 99% of all the medical billers that are out there in the doctor's offices. Okay, so Antonio, just do what you can to get down here. Believe me, we will find a way to get you into one of these classes ASAP. Okay, let's see. Macton says, can I start out my business as proprietorship? Yes, Macton, and folks, that just means he wants to be his own owner, just a single person who owns the business. And yes, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to incorporate or set up any kind of entities or anything. A lot of people start out just as an individual, and then at some point, they can switch over their and file a corporation or become an LLC or something like that. Yeah. All right, I'm just looking at a couple of comments here from folks after I answer their question. Well, okay, then I say we're back to our slideshow, which is right here. So no, you don't need any background. Most of our folks who come to the training didn't have any at all. And there's the address, by the way, to that. Maybe I should copy that and put that in the chat window. Yeah, let's do that. I'm putting it in there right now. Now, this is if you want to go see our YouTube channel and browse through some of those interviews on there. Okay, here's another question we get a lot. What are the other costs outside of my ABS licensing fee? Are there clearinghouse fees, support, upgrades, users, etc.? Now, let me explain all that. For a lot of folks, if they don't have a computer, if they don't have a cell phone, they need to buy those. You'll need those. Beyond that, you really don't need a whole lot of equipment. Ours is a cloud-based system, so there's no software to install. It doesn't matter how big your hard drive is on your computer. Heck, I guess you could run this whole business really from an iPad if you wanted to. But outside of that, of course, you're going to have some costs for marketing. Now, we provide you over 2,000 pieces of professional, full-color marketing pieces with your name and logo printed right on there. However, some companies have what are called clearinghouses that are outside of their system, that once the claim has been entered into their computer system, it then goes to a third-party clearinghouse company that scrubs it clean, makes sure it's all there, reformats it, and does some other stuff, and they charge a fee for that. We don't have that because the clearinghouse is built into our system. We don't use a third-party clearinghouse, and for that reason, there are no fees involved in that. Support is lifetime support, so there's no support fees, no upgrade fees. In fact, every time you log into our system, since it's cloud-based, you're just going to a browser, just like you are right now. You go to the browser, you type in the address at the top, you go and log in with your credentials, of course, that you'll have, and boom, you're using the system, and you're using the latest version of the system. You can always be assured of that because we do all the upgrades on our servers on the back end, in the cloud, so to speak. And then when you log in, you're seeing the latest stuff. There's no user fees. Folks, there are no ongoing fees at all that are not covered by the doctor, him or herself. Now, you'll see as we go through the training and show you exactly how this is presented to a doctor, that there will be an ongoing monthly access fee that the doctor will pay, not you. The doctor pays that because they're getting access to an online scheduler. They're getting access to an online collection system for patients that don't pay. They're getting access to a patient portal and a lot of other stuff that they will be thrilled to pay that access fee. Depends on the doctor, whether they're full-time and part-time, as to what that fee costs. But believe me, it's very reasonable in today's world. That's just accepted that anytime you're using a cloud-based system, there's a monthly subscription fee to that. Now, I've got some other questions coming in here, I think. Let's take a look at some of these. Okay, here's a good one from Zahi. Says, how can we guarantee to doctors that we are HIPAA compliant? Now, one of the ways that you can show doctors that you're HIPAA compliant is by showing them our software certification. We're going to give you all sorts of certification for the software, the iClaim and EMRX software, that assures them that it is HIPAA compliant. They can check with the government, of course, with HIPAA, and see that it is compliant. So that's an assurance that you get from us and that you pass on to your doctors. Dan says, what do most licensees become? LLC? Yes, Dan. As far as an entity, corporation, partnership, sole proprietor, most people eventually set up some sort of LLC. Lots of advantages that your CPA or your attorney can tell you about. Antonio says, do we go over how to make our business name in the training, or is that just on us? I've been trying to figure out a name, but it's hard. Yes, Antonio, we have a whole section on business basics, and we go over exactly how important it is that you do choose a name that's proper for your business. There's some words you shouldn't use, some words that are better than others, lots of tips that we're going to give you during that. So don't do a whole lot on that ahead of time. Now, once you've paid your licensing fee, of course, you are a licensee. Whether you have come to training or not, you can ask questions to our support department about anything, including get them to, give them some ideas about the name. David, what is the average profit margin for your students in their companies? David, we don't have real statistics on that because, again, we're not a franchise, so we don't get any feedback from our licensees. We don't know what their costs are, for example. But from the licensees that I've interviewed, if you go watch some of those interviews, you'll see that some of them will tell you that their profit margins are very high. I'm talking about 30 to 40%, because most of this is just labor, your labor, until you hire somebody else to do the work, and then you've got to pay them, and that's why it could be 30 or 40%. It'd be higher than that if it were just you doing all the billing yourself. So here's the answer to this question that's on your screen. I made a slide for it. Here it is. Your ongoing cost for these types of things are nothing. Nothing comes out of your pocket. You don't pay us any royalty fees. We make our money, remember, from our technology companies behind the scenes, and so we get rebates from them. Nothing comes directly from you to ABS ever after you've paid that licensing fee. Okay, let's see. Here is a question. Okay. Yeah, how many providers? I'm looking at my screen and my iPad, and I'm not sure sometimes what slide you're looking at. But anyway, here it is. How many providers can one person handle, or how many claims can one person file? So I thought the best way to illustrate that would be just to show you what an insurance claim looks like. There it is. Now, we're not using paper. This is a form that the government came up with years ago, called the 1500 form. See it right up here in the corner. And this is, believe it or not, you're going to run across doctors who are actually still filling this in. Yeah, I know it finds that hard to believe, but this is all the information that you need to file an insurance claim. It's the information about the patient, of course. There's some information about the insurance company, the codes, where the check should be mailed, and so forth. But folks, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of data there if you had to fill that out for every claim. Once you get to know this form, well, digitally on our system, you're filling this out, not on paper now. Once you know how to do that, literally, again, watch the interviews and you'll see I asked that question to some of them, and they'll say, gosh, it could take me as little as 45 seconds to do a claim. Because if that patient has been in previously, you look that claim up by the patient's name and social security number, for example, and the claim comes up, and all you may do is just change a date and send it again. So there's hardly any work at all. But for those of you who are typists, looking at this form, how long would it take you to even type this whole form out if it's a first-time patient? 5 minutes, maybe? Yeah. So the answer to your question is, how many 5-minute sessions do you have during the day? That's how many claims you can do. But we'll get real specific here on that in just 1 second. Oh, Ronaldo's asking, do we have to input the patient demographics ourselves? Meaning, the name, address, city, state, phone number, that type of thing. The answer to that is interesting, Ronaldo, because with our system, if the doctor is using the electronic medical record system, on his iPad, literally, the doctor will be able to look at the patient in the eye, tap a few buttons, and when he pushes a button that he's finished with that patient, that data goes into our system. Well, guess what? That's in our cloud-based system, which you, of course, at your office or home, have access to. What did I drop just now? Oh, pretty good. So the answer is no. You don't have to put in the demographics because our system actually allows you to type in a patient's insurance number, on the back of their insurance card. And when you type that in, it goes out to the insurance company's database in real time, yes, goes to that insurance company's database and pulls the data into our system so that you would see it like this on your computer screen instantaneously. And it would all be correct, of course, because the insurance company is the one that's sending that data to you. So yeah, pretty cool, huh? Okay, let's see. Let's go back to this question here. How do I get that data from the doctor's office? Well, I just gave you a hint that if the doctor is using our electronic medical record system, they're able to put that data in right there as they are encountering the patient, at the patient encounter. And by doing that, that data is actually being put into the system to where you don't have to get anything from the doctor. They've put it in there for you, basically. You're just going to do some double checking behind the scenes and push a button to submit the claim. That's all you do. So that data doesn't have to be gotten any particular way. However, there are doctors who may have their own system, or they don't like electronic medical records at all. They're never going to use them. They just think it's old technology they don't want to learn. For whatever reason, there are doctors who will still have some paper. So how do you get that? Well, one of those ancillary services that you can offer to doctors is one that you can use to run your business. It's called iDocs Now. And it's real simple. Anything at the doctor's office can be scanned in using a simple scanner that's about $350 on Amazon. You can provide that as a part of the setup fee to cover your cost and put that scanner in the doctor's office. At the end of the day, somebody's job is just to fax you the paper that's been stacked into the tray next to that scanner. And once they do, with passwords, of course, it's all HIPAA compliant. This is an online document management system. So the doctor will be able to see that data and those documents from their computer, from any computer anywhere in the world, 24/7. And of course, you and your staff who are doing the actual billing will be able to get that data from iDocs Now because you'll have a login to that system as well. Now, I know that doesn't explain it the way you'd like to hear it, but the point is you don't have to get a FedEx envelope. You don't have to drop by and pick up the data. This can all be done electronically. Folks, if you want to run your business like we do, American Business Systems has no paper in our office. Just don't allow it. We do everything digitally. All documents are uploaded into this iDocs Now service, and we access all of our documents from there. So it's pretty cool, and you'll have access to that as well as an ABS licensee. Well, we're moving right along here, and you know what? I got to get through some other questions here. So I'm watching for your questions always, but this one is, how quickly will the doctor get paid from the time I create a claim? Well, that one's pretty simple. Our average is about 14 days, but we have seen doctors get paid in as little as 5 days. Yes, on Monday, the claim was submitted. On Friday, the doctor had the money in their bank account. They love this when we set it up electronically like that. All right. Another question we get a lot is, who pays me, the doctor or American Business Systems? Well, the answer is real simple. The doctor pays you, and at the end of the month, you'll have a report from our system, of course, that you can provide to the doctor, or they can see it themselves. I mean, they have access to the system as well. Once you give them the password and credentials to get in, they can see the reports themselves in real time as to what money is coming in, what's been collected for the month, and so forth. And all you'll do is take that total amount that the system shows that you collected for the doctor, let's say it's $100,000, and you will bill the doctor a percentage of that. Now, that's all a part of your presentation, and we show you how to price it and so forth in our training. But nationwide, licensees are charging anywhere from 5 to 8%. That's generally the range. So whatever that is, $100,000 times 7%, for example, would be $7,000, and you'll simply invoice the doctor for that. Now, you can also set that up on an ACH, automated clearinghouse payments, and you can actually have that set up so that the doctor's money is withdrawn from their bank account directly once they have approved, the invoice. So anyway, it's a very simple system, and you'll see that that none of the money goes to us, and you certainly don't get paid from the insurance companies. The money goes into the doctor's bank account, and then you just bill the doctor at the end of the month. Okay, let's see. Oh, here's a question from Ronaldo. He says, I apologize, sir, but I saw the webinar from last week, and I have a question about the average amount of the reimbursement difference from a family practice and other specialists, for example, cardiologists. Well, Ronaldo, I think you're maybe talking about the fact that maybe I asked the person or if you were listening last week to our webinar by Eric O'Shea, he might have said that the average reimbursement from a doctor might be $100. That's what he actually collects from the insurance company for a visit. Maybe it's $150, but he only gets $100 of that from the insurance company. That's what you'll bill on. Now, for a cardiologist, that visit could be $350, $400. For a chiropractor, it might not be, but $50 or $75. So it just depends on the specialist. But it will be different for different types of specialists like that. Yeah. Oh, and Antonio's saying he's going back to how we get the data using that form. He says so. The doctor so the doctor scans the $1,500 form to us, or does it come through the iClaim system? Just trying to understand what is scanned into the iDoc system. Well, I'm sorry I wasn't real clear on that, Antonio, but basically I was talking about the fact that if the doctor doesn't have an electronic medical record system, then they may be doing some things on paper. And so they'll be scanning those forms in literally that you will then have to take on your computer, and this is why a lot of licensees get a second computer monitor. That document's up on one screen, and you're in our system, the iClaim system, doing the billing on another screen, and you're simply just doing data entry, basically, as if the paper was in front of you. Yeah. Okay, and Celine says, how can we safeguard virtual remote employee contractors from stealing the info and also make sure that they are also HIPAA compliant at their remote location? Celine, that is a great question. We, of course, you as the controller of the database for that doctor can give access and can take away access at any moment for any of your people that are working for you. You can also connect through GoToMeeting or some other service like this and actually watch them as they're doing some work, as if you're sitting right beside them. The only way you can guarantee that somebody's being HIPAA compliant in the way they handle all their paperwork is basically to train them as to how important that is, and maybe just pop in on them from time to time. If they're a contractor working out of their home, you can just show up and then look around and see if you see a bunch of papers, just scattered everywhere, because they do have to handle anything that they have physically very carefully to follow the HIPAA rules and regulations. That's all covered in our training as well, of course. Okay, I think I got through most of those questions. Let's see where we were. Oh, let's see. No, I think it was right here. Let's see, didn't I answer this? Who pays me? Yeah. All right, let's go to this question. What is the best approach when you start contacting doctors? Well, the best approach is not to start contacting doctors until you go through our training. It's very important that you realize that you could mess up some of your best leads. So don't do that unless you know what you're doing. You wouldn't do that with any other business, right? If you were selling life insurance, you wouldn't go to somebody and talk to them about life insurance until you knew all the facts about that. So, but to answer your question, what is the best approach? Well, we happen to know what the best approach is. And that is by us teaching you to be a revenue cycle specialist, a consultant, if you would, to doctors on their revenue cycle. That includes all the money, the revenue that comes into the doctor's office from insurance companies, from government agencies, and from patients. So we're going to teach you how to be a specialist when you go in. Sorry. We teach you how to do what's called a practice analysis. And it's simply a few pages of questions that we've come up with over the years that you'll sit and ask the doctor, or in many cases, the office manager. You just want to gather as much information about their current practice as you can so that you can come up with a proposal that would mean something to them. When you come back with a review of that practice analysis, we call it, in the review, you're going to go through some real specific things that we've helped you prepare in what's called a proposal. And that'll break down exactly what it would cost the doctor to get involved with you, including the setup fee and so forth. So that's all covered in that training as well. Okay, and we'll show you how to present that to the doctor in a very nice proposal folder. There it is on the left, opened up on the right. You'll be able to put your business card in there, and it'll be a very nice way to present yourself. So that's how you approach doctors from a professional standpoint. You're not selling anything. There's nothing here to sell. In fact, people that come to our training that have had some sales background, I have to tell them to forget about 99% of everything they know, because there's no selling involved in this, folks, unless you consider trading $10 bills for $1 bills. How many times could you do that on the street corner if you had $10 bills and asked people for $1 and you'd give them a $10 bill, assuming that they didn't think it was counterfeit? If you had proof that you had real $10 bills, how many of them could you give away? It's just that simple. We're increasing the doctor's revenue. Our service never costs the doctor anything, bottom line. Now, there may be some fees to get into the system, but once you start collecting more money than they've ever seen before in their practice, they'll be very thrilled with what you did for them. The other thing that kind of sets you apart is our live demos. We basically, our staff, our technical people, will do a live demo, one-on-one, with your prospective clients. You'll be able to watch, like you see here in this illustration. Here's a couple at home, looks like, watching the demo from their computer. The doctor and his staff, maybe, are in their offices watching the demo, using the technology we're using right here to present this webinar to you. And they're hearing it live. They're asking questions live. Folks, there's nothing like this out there. No other company will provide the ability for us to do these live demos by people who can answer all the doctor's questions. So all your fear is taken away because we answer all the questions, and the last question the doctors usually have is, how do I get started? And that's when you'll want to have your paperwork ready. Sometimes our licensees go to the doctor's office and watch that demo live with the doctor as well. Those demos last anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes, Celine. He's asking how long the demos are. Now, folks, if you haven't seen the demo yourself of our software, then you need to get back with the person who invited you to this webinar and say, I want that live demo. I want to see it myself. And they'll spend 30, 45 minutes, whatever you need, to answer all your questions as well as you see that demo there. Well, Dwayne says, well, you say there's no selling, but you are selling your service. Yes, Dwayne, I guess we can use the term that you have to sell your services to a doctor, but when you see the way we do it, it's not what selling normally is, which is taking advantage of somebody or trying to sell them something that's a luxury item or something that they don't need. Cash flow every business needs, and so yes, you're selling your services, but it's going to cost them less than they're going to get, so you really are not selling anything. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Okay. Here's a question we get. How do you address a doctor's questions regarding your experience or lack of when you're starting out? Now, folks, this is very important, because if you tried to start your own medical billing business just by downloading some software or going through some sort of training or buying some books on Amazon on how to do medical billing, how do you answer this question about being having no clients and no experience? Well, first of all, let me go back to those demos, because after we've done the demo, if the doctor wants references for other doctors, even in their specialty, that are utilizing this system, we can give you those names and phone numbers that the doctors will take phone calls from other doctors about the system. So that's how you can build your credibility. You're already in business with a company that has thousands of doctors from coast to coast on our system and using it and using the services of our licensees. So we can help build that credibility for you. Plus, then there's this book. Yes, and I actually have a copy of it right here, and I'll show you something very special about this. Let me stop showing the screen here so you see me live, full screen here. Now, this book is real special in that this particular version of the book has something at the bottom. I'm going to hold it up here and see if you can see that in the video live feed here. Can you see that? That has my name and Dr. Vicki Ragnar, the authors of the book, but look right below it there. Forward by Susan Smith, CMRM, Certified Medical Revenue Manager. Now, that could be your name, because we've actually written an intro forward to the book. It's a 2-page forward. There it is. There's page 1. Here's page 2. And look at the page 2 of this. I'll get that up there so you can see. Can you see what we've done there at the end of that intro? That forward. Your name with your company name, your phone number and web address and everything is right there printed in the book. And yes, your name is on the title page right there too. Forward by. You see it there? Right under my name and Dr. Vicki Ragnar's. Now, folks, this is very unique. This book, which we just came out with at the end of last year, is very pertinent. Doctors are coming to live conferences and seminars and things that some of our licensees are doing and getting this book and demanding that they have a copy of this book, because this is all about doctors thriving in medical practice. And some of them are not thriving right now. Many of them are not thriving. Many of them are considering going to work for a hospital. Why? Because they're not thriving. They're not making the kind of money that they used to make before all the different healthcare things came along here, and that we're in the midst of trying to figure out, right? So this book can be your differentiator out there in the marketplace, building huge credibility. Folks, to have your name just on the cover of a book that a doctor is the author of, huge credibility. These books are available to you as our licensees, and folks, our licensees are reordering these. We've had recently an order of 100 of these. Licensees love these because they give them such credibility, having be a part of our company. There it is.